Welcome, Google Ads Deep Dive RSA creation for B2B. The second workshop in our RSA-themed workshop series happening this beautiful autumn. A few quick words about Holini and our backgrounds and experiences and what justifies us doing these workshops. What are the experiences that we will be basing our thoughts on? So our team of senior specialists who are all collectively behind the things that I am presenting to you today and always is specialized in Google Ads and analytics, working with B2B tech companies. Being a small team, we simply have seen that it makes sense to keep our focus rather narrow. Different businesses from the B2B tech scene usually reach out to us when they are looking to optimize and scale up their Google Ads efforts and just want to ensure that their account is running at top efficiency, maximizing results, and just seeing new hypotheses, experiments tested, strategies introduced regularly to not stay complacent. I see Kristel's note taker is very actively using the chat section here. I encourage you guys to do the same as well. I would really love to see who participated in the previous RSA research workshop that happened 2 weeks ago. So just put a little smiley or I or me in the chat so I know how many of you kind of have some of the base. Oh, we're getting thumbs up. Good. Love that. Way more way of notifying me. Good stuff. Okie dokie. So we have some people who saw it. It's available as a recording on our website as well. So if you feel like you would want to hear how we do ad copy research and prepare for this RSA creation stage that we will go through today, then you can view that on holini.com under workshops. I have faith in you finding it. Okay. Now, I'll move on to guiding you through our process and template that we have built so you could start creating top-performing responsive search ads. And this is how we are doing it today. We will, apologies, we will cover some key differences, different approaches, and I guess areas of where you're better off going against the norm or against Google's general recommendations. So the B2B versus B2C part. Then I will walk you through our RSA creation process and our custom built template, which you will of course get access to as well after this. I will try my best to add examples anywhere and everywhere where I can to illustrate our thoughts and I guess like prove our points here and there. And finally, of course, we will finish off with a Q&A. So feel free to add questions in the chat here throughout the workshop already, and I will answer all of them to the best of my capabilities. Also, hand on heart, putting it out there, promising if I don't manage to answer your question live here today, then I will go back, consult with my amazing team, and get back to you personally. So really looking forward to some challenging questions. Challenge me, please. Now, let's do this. A few things we have to consider as prerequisites, or as we like to call it in Holini, base hygiene, for you to be successful with your responsive search ads. Now, I am by no means a designer. I spent quite a lot of time on this design, which I have showcased in several workshops already, so I'm going to get my full use out of it. I mentioned this in the previous RSA research workshop as well already, but as we have quite a lot of new registrants, and to emphasize its importance, because it is really important, I'll do it again. Basically, an optimal or logical account structure. And this is my attempt at a visual representation of an account structure in Google Ads. So Google's learnings about your responsive search ads assets. By assets today, I will be referring to or meaning headlines and descriptions. The learnings about your responsive search ads assets and their combinations and their respective performance happen on ad group level. So creating a tightly packed, relevant grouping of keywords in an ad group helps Google understand the overall intent of the ad group. I did a workshop on account structure as well a short while ago. You can check that recording of that also on our website. World's shortest summary, consolidate as much as possible and only separate when needed and where it makes sense. And use the different structure levels of the account as data groupings to kind of guide machine learning. So that's the whole thought process that I focus on in the account structure workshop, which was more from a guiding machine learning and bidding and grouping data about audiences and intent perspective, but it is very much relevant from an RSA creation and optimization perspective as well. So the responsive search ads copy, really simple, really. It has to align with the intent of the user's search, the keywords in the ad group, and the further content on the landing page where the user will land post-ad click. So you want to be creating a seamless logical journey where the messaging aligns across all the user's touch points. And this is like pretty much basic knowledge about Google Ads that I'm sure, like quite confident, all of you really know. But despite that, when having done quite a lot of audits of different B2B accounts, even though we all know it, we kind of seem to often forget it in the ad creation process, let's say. So kind of coming back to this, emphasizing this really key base hygiene aspect. The journey has to be seamless. We don't want to confuse the user. When users are confused, they're super impatient, their attention span is short, to say the least, and we're very likely to lose them along the way. So we want to, with the search ad in the mix, we want to show relevancy, create enough interest that the person would be enticed to click on our ad, and then guide the person to investigate the same thing that we communicated in our ad, investigate the same thing further on the landing page. And if there's alignment throughout, you might be in for a juicy lead from it. Now, again, summarizing what was covered at the start of the RSA research workshop. As we want to focus on the RSA topic specifically from a B2B angle, we have to acknowledge the first major B2B specific challenge that I hear from every single company that I talk with when they reach out to us or I have reached out to them. And that is, of course, data scarcity. And even large B2B accounts, despite them maybe having significant budgets, they lack enough high quality data for Google's machine learning algorithms to function in a 100% optimal state. And in the RSA context, this means that there's not enough data per every asset and combination. So with 15 headlines and 4 descriptions in RSAs, over 40,000, so that's 4 and 4 zeros, ad combinations are possible. I think it was like 47,000 something. I have never seen an ad group in a B2B account that would have sufficient impressions, clicks, and conversions for the algorithms to make well-informed decisions about all these possible over 40,000 combinations. And again, not account, but ad group is the level that we're talking about where the learning all happens. So our advice, don't complicate things by adding 2 or 3 RSAs per ad group, further increasing the number of combinations, doubling, tripling it. In most cases, a single responsive search ad with maybe 7 to 10 headlines is actually more than enough. Quality trumps quantity in generating results for your business, and pinning assets can also help strike a balance between control and optimization and further limiting the number of possible combinations. I will dive deeper into pinning slightly later on in the workshop as well. Now, the second key challenge we always consider when managing B2B accounts, which is more relevant for some businesses, less relevant for some, lucky them, is the differing intent of users during searches. So in some cases, it's easy to distinguish B2B intent from keywords like fleet management software or automating payment reconciliation. These are clearly people searching for a solution for their company, not like a private person looking for something. However, with broader terms like selling tickets, the intent could either be B2B or not, just as easily. Someone could be seeking a ticket sales platform to sell tickets for their event, or it could just be someone looking to resell concert tickets for a concert they can't attend themselves. But the keyword is the same, and we still want to target that as a keyword. So when the keyword doesn't clarify the intent, we need to make it explicit in the ad copy to help avoid irrelevant clicks. While in a B2B setting, in most cases, we use offline conversion tracking. And yes, offline conversion tracking can help algorithms distinguish high-quality B2B leads. It takes time due to our first challenge, data scarcity. And only relying on Google to learn and adjust retrospectively will take ages. And in the meantime, you will be, I will say, wasting quite a lot of budget. Therefore, we proactively avoid attracting irrelevant users by filtering them out with purposefully irrelevant ad copy. And also, importantly, we ensure that this B2B intent clarification in our ad copy appears in more than just one or two headline variations, because those one or two might not always be shown. So we want to make it clear in our entire ad that this is a solution for businesses, not for a private, single, normal person. But that said, on top of hopefully filtering out irrelevant traffic with B2B specific ad copy, you should still definitely look at setting up offline conversion tracking to be able to make decisions based on actual data about which leads turned into MQLs, SQLs, and then paying customers. And ultimately, with offline conversion tracking in place, you can move towards optimizing your campaigns towards bringing you paying customers and not worry that much about generating and paying for irrelevant traffic. So shameless plug here to our analytics department as well. If you don't have offline conversion tracking set up, reach out and they would surely love to help you. Now, on to the ad creation portion of our RSA framework. Intro done. As mentioned, you will receive these slides and the template I am sharing as well. It's linked here, as you may be able to see. So we will be continuing from where we left off in the previous workshop from 2 weeks ago, where I walked you through our ad copy research process. Now, we will assume that this research is done. You're very well informed. And we are ready to start putting the results of that research into actual responsive search ads ad copy. The first thing we want to do is gather all ideas we have generated from the research into one place. We have kept this simple in the spreadsheet. You can, of course, create separate tabs for separate themes, products, services, offerings, or just separate them here on this one tab. Nothing complicated. Please adjust it to your current needs and build on top of it. It's common that some headlines and descriptions will be used pretty much account-wide as they would communicate your overall USP, UVP, for example. And some of the assets will be unique and relevant to a specific ad group. So it's kind of like good to gather them here and then start working with, okay, what will be used account-wide, what we will use in specific ad groups. Usually, this is the stage we would check and make adjustments to actually fit the ad copy idea into Google's specific character limits. So that's 30 characters for headlines and 90 for descriptions. Previously, we gathered general ideas in the research phase. In that phase, I wouldn't really limit yourself much by worrying about character limits. You want to include all the insights, but now we do have to acknowledge we have to make them fit. So we do have to make sure we don't exceed these limits of 30 and 90 for these assets. Next, it might be helpful to make sure that we have covered all these different angles or categories of headlines. So we have divided them into your brand's unique messaging, social proof, CTAs, price-related communication, if relevant, features, benefits, competitive advantages, and of course the specific ad groups, thematic keywords too. So we'll divide our headlines from the previous tab into these categories, and this way it's easier to see if we have covered all of these and add more somewhere if necessary. Now, you could also, of course, create the drop-down in the previous sheet to already categorize assets under these categories and then have them automatically populated here if you'd like to automate this step. But for the sake of sharing this template, making sure it's super easy, not daunting, and customizable, I have kept it simpler for you guys for now. Now, a little insight from account audits we've done for quite many B2B accounts. The categories I have most commonly seen missing or lacking are social proof and specific advantages over competitors. So most of you would already have like a number of companies as your clients. So why not showcase how many companies already trust you, or what kind of companies trust you, or encourage the people to come and read reviews from your existing clients. These are all very impactful in making the user feel more confident in deciding towards purchasing from you. And yeah, regarding the advantage over competitors, can be as simple as like Google your keywords, your brand name, your competitor's brand name, and see if the 1, 2, or 3, or 4 ads that are shown to you, are they any different, or are you all saying the same thing? Slight adjustments of the angles of what you're communicating, what pain points you are kind of pressuring or offering solutions for, can really help you differentiate and be better, like relatable to the user. And of course, again, keeping in mind, every business is different. The examples I featured here are just meant to be taken as thought starters. For example, if price-related communication is not a thing for your brand, don't forcefully add headlines about that, of course. So this is a generic template that you need to build on. We, of course, want to use our friend ChatGPT or any other AI tool to help with brainstorming and or refining wording and phrasing. So it's good to try and do a few rounds of brainstorming with ChatGPT as well. But please be mindful that you wouldn't lose your brand's tone of voice and end up just, again, blending in with your competitors. So good prompting, critical thinking, and adjusting the responses you get will always remain crucial. I really love the thought from a keynote presentation at a recent Google event, which highlighted that or introduced the idea that AI should be used as a collaborator and not even just as a tool. Like a year ago, it was really said everywhere and anywhere and everywhere that, okay, AI is a tool that you should use in your daily work. But with its capabilities now, we should view it as a conversation partner, as a collaborator more. Okay, so here's an example prompt that you could, again, adjust to your needs and see what it starts coming up with and how it compares to your human research results and copywriting. We're actually in the process of building a custom GPT that would assist with RSA copywriting and kind of help speed up the process, automate it, already include some nice prompts based on our experience. But there's still some kinks that need to be ironed out there, so I'm unable to share that just yet. But I will, of course, share it on our LinkedIn profiles, for example, when it's done. So again, shameless plug. If you don't want to miss that, then feel free to send me a connection request or follow on LinkedIn. It will definitely be out there once it's done. Regarding this, again, like as I added in italic at the bottom, of course, the more input you give to this prompt from your, for example, previous research, or we have a know the client document, for example, where we gather all kinds of insights from the client side as well. Giving those as input is only going to make the results of ChatGPT's brainstorming better. So the better the prompt, the better the output, as I'm sure you're all familiar with already. Okay, as I mentioned at the start, using all 15 headlines and 4 descriptions in an RSA and leaving them unpinned would result in approximately 47,000 different combinations, not taking into account extensions and the craziness that happens when those are included as well. So let's just admit that you don't have enough data in your ad groups to allow that, despite Google recommending like add more assets, add more assets. Let's focus on quality over quantity. It might often be good to at least pin the first headlines that contain, let's say, keywords that best match the user's search intent, and maybe keep the rest unpinned or pin some to the second position as well, to kind of have both control and optimization options. A good practice is pinning 1 to 4 headlines to the first position. So still giving machine learning some testing options within the first headline position, but by limiting those to the first headline only, you're already significantly reducing the number of different combinations. So consider previously researched and discovered search volumes to decide what is worth including and pinning, and also consider using keyword insertion or ad customizers if there is a relatively large number of keywords inside one ad group that fit into the ad text content and 30 character limit. In such a case, it might be enough to pin only 1 headline if you're using keyword insertion, because that's already going to be adjusting to each specific search. But you could also pin a keyword insertion headline and another headline, both to the first position as well. And to further speed up the learning process of an RSA, you can, let's say, pin headlines containing benefits, USPs, product features, call to actions to positions 2 and or 3. This, again, will reduce the number of combinations and make the system test them faster. So here's one simple option of how to approach pinning in an either very data scarce or highly regulated environment where you must say certain things and have them present in your ad copy. Like the financial industry is often quite regulated, for example. Or you could, of course, also just pin the first headline assets. The key thing we recommend in these cases, though, as I said, is pinning multiple variations to this first position to still allow Google's algorithms some alternating and testing. But by pinning, you're already reducing the number of variations. And also, please keep in mind that it is very common now for Google to only show 1 headline. So review your headline assets to make sure that they would still look good if they were shown all on their own. So just the 1 headline, that there is some information given to the user there. Okay, so after you have generated all these ideas about different types of ad copy angles or categories and want to kind of play around with the options of pinning and the combinations that would then be generated, you can use something like this, which makes it easier to just visualize possible combinations. I purposefully didn't include this in the template because I don't want it to leave the impression that these specific combinations of headline angles should be used for sure above some other combinations. So you can figure out, based on your business, your research, your goals, and the hypothesis you set, which are the combos that help you differentiate and which you'd like to test. So a similar visual simulator should be easy enough to recreate for all of you here. So this here is just an idea that you might want to use to play around, but don't necessarily need to do this at all. So why I suggested playing around and visualizing those combinations for yourself. The key thing we want to look out for is having unnecessary repetition across headlines. And this is something we see in audits quite often. And this happens when a variety of headlines are just added in an RSA, and it's not considered that unless you pin some assets, absolutely all combinations are possible. So just saying the very same or similar thing with minimal adjustments to wording can, first of all, just in some cases not look too good to a user if you're essentially repeating a headline twice. And secondly, you're wasting your very limited ad space and missing out on the chance to communicate something extra about your offering or company or competitive advantages that would help influence the user's decision. So I am sorry for highlighting deal here. I cannot say, because I don't have access to their account, I cannot say that this ad performs poorly. It might work well, but just based on experience, these types of repetitions are something that we would rather avoid, and perhaps could benefit even more from using a different headline in the second position, highlighting something extra. So think to keep in mind, though, when reviewing potential combinations, you should also check that if you're using keyword insertion or keyword themed static headlines, you don't want to be using any other more generic headlines from your list of headlines that are too repetitive. So confusing. I'll explain. In this example, I can guess that what happened was that the first headline is probably the keyword themed headline in the ad group. So probably they have those payroll software related keywords in that ad group. And this is their kind of main headline there to cover those keywords. And the second headline is probably, I'm assuming, a more generic headline that they use account-wide. But in the context of this specific ad group, such repetition can and quite likely will occur, because for other keywords that are not in this payroll software themed ad group, them communicating best payroll software in another ad group might totally make sense. So another example, in Holini's case, if we were running Google Ads for ourselves as an agency, what could happen is that we would have an ad group for keywords around our Google Ads management service, and then also use our features headlines. And we would then be potentially repeating ourselves and saying Google Ads management in our first headline from, let's say, keyword insertion. And then our account-wide features headline, Google Ads management, could be shown as a second headline. So total pretty much 100% repetition. So it's really worth taking some time and consciously reviewing what the combinations are that can happen in each ad group, and if the specific ad group needs a custom approach, or if you'd want to use a pretty much universal structure for account-wide, a universal structure that you're using account-wide, if that doesn't interfere with specific ad groups. So in my experience, to be honest, doing these kind of reviewing things one by one manually can seem daunting and annoying, and the more boring part of ads management. But a B2B account's optimal structure usually doesn't include hundreds and thousands of ad groups. So doing this kind of manual thinking and manual review for each ad group is doable, I dare say, and also worth it. Okay, I've talked about having your keywords and their theme or custom relevant headlines per keyword included as headline variants. But if you have, let's say, 30 keywords in your ad group, then you couldn't possibly include them all in your ad copy as headlines. So we still want to have ad groups with several, or well, many keywords that are tightly packed around the same topic to give Google a better idea about the overall intent there. But we also want to have relevant ads that are relevant for all these keywords, and not just thematically with one generic keyword that kind of covers or fits for them all. So we have two options. The first, more commonly used and simpler option, I've already mentioned a bit, keyword insertion. So very briefly, this is when you just insert the keyword that triggered the ad into the ad as a headline most often. But this can also be used in descriptions as well. In this case, you just have to review your keywords and make sure that they would look okay as a headline. So if the keyword wouldn't fit, then you would fall back to a default text that you provide that should convey the theme of the keywords as clearly and accurately as possible, as you would if you just had one ad group themed headline for all. So you don't have to worry about character limits because some keywords will fit, some won't. You will have a fallback option, but you do have to worry a little bit about wording and phrasing. And in some point of time, it was a thing to purposefully include keywords with typos to make sure you're capturing all searches. But in this case, if you're using keyword insertion, you maybe don't really want to be doing that because the keyword would be inserted as a headline. And if your keyword includes a typo or it's phrased slightly awkwardly, it's not going to look good as a headline. So this is how it looks like in the interface. You just need to trigger the keyword insertion with a curly bracket, and you will see this drop down. Choose keyword insertion from there. And then choose the case, which will override the case of your keywords. So you wouldn't have to worry about inconsistencies there. Just make sure that the case is consistent to your other static headlines that you're using. And then just enter a default, as I mentioned, fallback text that will be used if the keyword cannot be inserted as a headline due to, for example, character limits. The second option would be using ad customizers, which will be covered in depth with a full walkthrough or kind of tutorial by my teammate Matthias on November 7th during our last workshop in the RSA theme series. So this means essentially creating a custom headline variation for every keyword in your ad group, not just inserting the keyword, but having a custom written headline per keyword. This could either just be the keyword itself in some cases, or also maybe slightly adjusted copy that is relevant for the specific keyword and perhaps partially or fully includes the keyword plus something additional. And I know you might say that you can't realistically fit much into the 30-character limit of headlines beyond just already using the keyword itself. But a little spoiler alert for Matthias's workshop, with ad customizers, you can actually slightly bypass character limits. It's cool stuff. Make sure to register when the information is out there. I will send you emails and it's going to be on LinkedIn as well. And he will tell you all about it. Now, another little seemingly random little thing I wanted to note and point out is display URL paths. I have seen in surprisingly many audits, to be honest, that the display URL or display URL path, however you're used to calling it, has been forgotten. But some research has shown actually that paths are the second most prominent part of a search ad, after headlines, of course. And in my view, they serve pretty much two purposes. You have another option of inserting your keyword or keyword's theme into the ad, which increases ad relevance, which is a component of quality score. And the higher your quality score, the lower your CPCs, the more you're going to get for the same budget. But also, on another side, you can create a slight added sense of, I don't know, trust or confidence for users. As with paths, you're giving them an indication of where they will land after clicking the ad. The average user doesn't realize that this is not the actual URL that they will land on. To them, this just gives them kind of like a preview of the theme of the landing page that you want to take them to. And if it matches the theme and intent of their search, then it's just that nice little extra insurance that, okay, now I'm exaggerating, but they're going to be okay and get what they're looking for after clicking on your ad. So don't forget your display URL paths when creating and optimizing your ads. Now, when we actually finally reached the stage of creating new RSAs, take a brief moment and ask yourself, should you even be creating new RSAs? As I mentioned in the previous research-themed workshop as well, we don't always want to fully overhaul the existing setup and data it has gathered. If you have some historical data in your account already, then you will likely have some strong assets that performed well. Side note, which doesn't mean that they couldn't possibly be improved further and you should forever leave them alone. But my point is, it might be best to leave some ads fully as is or only adjust them partially and leave some assets in place. So here we have two scenarios and approaches. Scenario one, if you don't intend to keep any of the existing headlines or descriptions, create a new RSA, keeping it alongside the old one if it makes sense for maybe like a week or so, and then pausing the old one. Or scenario two, if you want to keep some of your best performing headlines, which usually makes sense, make changes directly in the currently enabled RSA to keep the learnings on the RSA level. As I mentioned, we do have to always keep in mind the machine learning algorithms, how they learn, what data they have, and what actions will be restarting the learning process, where you will inevitably lose some performance because it's learning and testing again. If you choose this option, replace headlines and descriptions gradually. For example, replace the 3 worst performing headlines and 2 descriptions in the first patch, wait 3 to 5 days, replace the next 3 worst performing old headlines and maybe 1 description, and continue until all assets that you want to update are updated. So the general idea here is we don't want to shock the system too much in many cases, kind of doing things more gradually to not restart learning too sharply, shockingly for the system. Okay, so I'll just show you the template quickly, so it hopefully wouldn't be as daunting when first opening it yourself as well. I am going to switch tabs now to this tab. You should be able to see my, yep, you're seeing my spreadsheet now. So the previous ones here are kind of tabs that we covered in our first workshop regarding research, and this is what I shared at the start of today as well. So kind of just starting with gathering your ideas here. There's little notes added to cells with further instructions as well. So when you open it up, see which cells have those little triangles in the corner. These will help you guide through it. Just gathering them all here so you have a visual, nice overview of what you've got. Then we have this unique assets tab where I left these examples in here. Maybe they're helpful for you to kind of categorize the assets that you have brainstormed here. And as I mentioned, you could, of course, add like a drop-down filtering here to then automatically populate stuff in the right place here if you would like to. Or you could do it manually as well. Again, my experience in B2B, usually the volumes aren't that huge, so it's actually very manageable to do it manually every now and again. Then we have these 2 tabs for different RSAs, essentially just like a nice visual way of working with it. You can use it, you don't have to. Sometimes we just see that maybe upper management or the marketing team or for in our case the client really enjoys seeing this kind of easily graspable visual representation of things. So let's say I write my campaign here. general keywords. I'll just show you why. I'm not showing you how to type, but I'm showing you where this data is then taken. I don't know, let's say I'm doing the example for Holini as an agency. So we have our Google Ads Management ad group. If I want to add a label, that's maybe I based on the research I did or when I'm adding these ads, add a label. And then headline 1, headline 2 with something extra. Okay, I saw this is too much. Let's do something extra. Headline 3 with CTA, benefit, features, UVP, brand, message slash slogan. Okay, so you get the idea. Just you're going to see all the assets here in at once. If you want to, you can pin these. There's 3 positions of headlines, so you can choose which positions you want to pin to. Let's say I want to try pinning this as well, but others I will leave as is. Description 1, description 2, and here it's going to purposefully be left white because it's maybe giving you an indication that it's way too short. So that's why this is like that. You can, of course, adjust these conditional formats as well. And paths, let's say this was for Google Ads and oops. Let's delete that, and management, and final URL. This will remain red until it's empty because you can't create an ad without a final URL. Here, I also added a little column for you guys to include maybe some notes on why you're using this asset. You could include here the category from this unique assets categorization, for example, for you to see, okay, what categories do I have covered? Am I missing something? Should I add more? How many headlines do I have from each category? So in general, yes, you could just do that by looking at it. But it's nice to have these visual representations because it really highlights some areas where you are lacking way more clearly, and you're more sure to not forget them. Okay, and this is now automatically taken to an import-ready format to be imported with Google Ads Editor. If you're working with more ads, then this is just simplifies the process a little bit. Now, again, it has notes and instructions, but the format we want to use when importing to editor, we want to delete this row. We want to, in this case, we created 1 RSA, and it's enough to have just 1 headline. So even if I would have here next assets as well for a second ad for a different campaign or different ad group, I would want to delete this row of headlines because it's enough to have 1 headline header row for RSA for ad import with editor. So deleting this these 2 rows as well, and then you can just copy paste this, and it's ready to import into editor. Let's delete these. Okay, so this is it. This is regarding the share this tab instead. We're coming back and to the presentation. So hopefully it will feel a little bit more familiar when you finally get your hands on the template yourself. And with this, we have reached the end of today's workshop. Key takeaways, you tell me what they were for you. I'm sure they're slightly different for everyone, but the things I hope you take with you as said, base hygiene are B2B isn't B2C. One Google Ads approach doesn't fit all. So Google Ads as a platform, I believe, is actually not specifically built for B2B companies and the challenges that they face. So for example, data scarcity. So the recommendations that you're getting within the Google Ads interface are not always relevant to you. They are, keep in mind, tailored to the average user worldwide who uses Google Ads. If you're a B2B company and Google Ads is an important channel for you, then you are definitely not an average small company user of Google Ads. And there are these differences that should be kept in mind. Secondly, it pays to put effort into ad copy research, ideation, creation, playing around with these combinations, figuring out the messages, the combinations of messages that will be helpful for you in your competitive landscape, considering what your competitors are doing, how you are standing out among them, highlighting those things, not putting attention to the things that maybe you're not as good as your competitors are. So again, this is obvious, like pay attention to what you're doing, put effort there. It feels almost silly saying this, but I just have seen that it is oftentimes kind of rushed through, but like the creative part is pretty much half of the impact of Google Ads. It's creative and targeting. And bidding and everything falling under the targeting side as well. So yeah, sit down, review it. Does it make sense? Does it really communicate what your company does in the way that you want it to be communicated? Is it relevant? Is it relatable? Stuff like that. And with that, really nail the alignment of the user's intent and then the seamlessness of the journey that you are taking them on, to put it in a bit of a poetic way. So sparking interest with your ad copy, standing out, being relatable, and also communicating that you are solving the key problems that this user is facing right now. And all of these things, how to kind of come up with ad copy that covers these RSA research workshop and the steps there. Now, again, I would like to highlight that this is the process that works for us as a base process, but each business, their history, circumstances, goals, competitive landscape are different. So the points and examples discussed today are meant to serve as guidelines or thought process starters or reminders for you to use as a base to figure out the best approach for you. Now, before I take a look at any questions posted in the chat, I'd like to remind you that I will be sending out the recording on Monday, the latest. You will get the link to the email address that you provided when you registered, and it will be added to our website, holini.com, under workshops as well. You will also get access to the slides and to the template that I walked you through as well. Now, I'm also posting a link here in the chat for providing some quick feedback. So if you find time, around 30 seconds max, I promise you, it would be really, really, really helpful to hear your thoughts on today's workshop, and also for me to be able to tailor future ones to better match your needs. It's a really quick questionnaire, so I'm just getting the link. I think this is the one. I will send the feedback link via the follow-up email as well, but you should be able to access that. Okay, now I'm going to start scrolling through the chat. And some AI assistance. Look at you guys using AI to its full potential. Okay, Andrew asked, how do you stop Google from only giving an average rating because it doesn't like pinning? The rating that you are seeing in the ad strength column, which I believe you are referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, has no impact on the auction and the performance. What has an impact is quality score, but the ad strength rating is exactly one of those kind of Google's generic recommendations, guidelines to kind of guide you in setting priorities or the basic things that you could do, the steps you could take in the account to optimize. And one of those very basic generic recommendations is, okay, give us more assets so that Google can be like, we know you don't put too much time into the account, presumably. This is Google saying it, not me. And let us handle the testing of different variations. So just give me variations. But if you're actually consciously managing your account, then at least in the B2B case, this is the recommendation that you shouldn't definitely blindly follow. So don't worry about the ad strength rating. Do we get the presentation afterwards? Yes, you do. I will send you an email, but because I want the recording to be ready and I want it to be already up on the website and everything, then I am giving myself time until Monday. I might be able to get it done earlier, but lack of sleep when preparing for this workshop might limit my working hours slightly today. How do you use ad strength metric in B2B sector? Ad customizers are ruining ratings sometimes. How do you view that? Okay, as said, ad strength, not something that we are worried about necessarily. We are more worried about quality score and the components of that. So ad relevance, expected click-through rate, landing page experience, because those have a direct impact on your performance. Ad strength is just a superficial visual assessment, let's say. Template, nice one. You will get the spreadsheet link in the slides that I share with you. Okay, Georg said, I think Google used to recommend that you should use 2 regular text ads and 1 responsive search ad. Is it only responsive search ads now, or? Yes, the kind of regular text ads, which were, their latest name was expanded text ads, that format has been sunsetted, so you are no longer actually able to create those anymore. So those were the ones where you just had like 3 headline variants and they were switched up their order. If you have those in your account from the olden days, then they are still running. I believe Google hasn't paused them themselves, but you are now only able to create responsive search ads. At some point, yes, I also remember this kind of recommendation, so kind of using like a combo, but for quite a significant time already, this is no longer the case. So especially in B2B, just thinking logically, the amount of data you have, it's likely that your ad group might be getting 300 clicks per month. Is it needed to have that many different variations in there to complicate decision-making? Probably not. Some nice thank you words. Thank you very much. Always very much appreciated. How much having less RSAs and more pinning have improved performance on average? This is tricky to say because there's obviously so many different factors going into these results improvements. Right now, at least, I don't have a specific case where we isolated this one change from having a load of assets, multiple RSAs, and then limiting the combinations and then reviewing performance and being able to confidently say that there were no other influential factors. Because when using smart bidding, there are so many things that are taken into account in the bidding auction room environment that it's really hard to confidently say that, okay, this was the specific change that brought me this exact results. And again, in B2B, because you're operating in such a data scarce environment, it's really tricky to run like A/B tests in the traditional sense anyway. So that is something that maybe, if this is interesting, let me know, for example, in the feedback form. And we might cover in the future our thoughts on A/B testing in a B2B environment and how we approach that. But yeah, in general, I am sorry, I will not be able to give you a clear answer on that. And I think it's going to really depend on each specific account's previous setup, how bad it was, and the additional things that you change moving forward. Are you going to prepare a workshop about Google Ads product campaigns? Product campaigns, you mean the campaign formats for more like retail e-com site? I will unfortunately probably have to give you quite a confident no here because we are focused on B2B tech companies in Holini. Then we like to keep our focus and experiences rather narrowly around that. And for quite some time now, we haven't had much strong focus on those sides of Google Ads. But I'm sure there's quite a lot of like Google Shopping and those formats, workshops and tutorials online, if that is relevant to you specifically. Can you share your opinion about relationship between RSA and quality score metrics like expected CTR, ad relevance, landing page experience? Relationship between, well, I would say it's a very close relationship, if I'm understanding the question correctly. Any changes you do in your ad will, of course, have an either positive or negative impact on the expected click-through rate and ad relevance. So yes, if you want to work on quality scores, first thing you'd go and look is at your ad copy, I would say. At least that's what I do. If you want to discuss this further, reach out to me later or elaborate here. Landing page experience, that is not necessarily so strongly in our control as like account managers. If you're not also managing the landing page itself, of course, it's in a way, yes, related, because you have control over if you are directing people to a relevant landing page. So that also is the landing page experience. Does it match the theme, the intent of the keyword, the ad, the search? But any improvements you can make on the landing page to make the experience better there, obviously would have to be done on the landing page. Thank you, Shona, for attending. Nice to see you here, and Alexander as well. Okay, if there are no more questions, then again, please, feedback form. I will love you for it, and hopefully the next workshop will then be even better, more relevant. As mentioned, next workshops. This is a series. So right now we are on October 10th. The next workshop, which information will be sent about very, very shortly, will be happening on October 24th. And in that, I will walk you through RSA optimization. So the activities to do, the things to look out for, to analyze when you already have these excellently created RSAs in your account and up and running and gathering some data. And then after that, on November 7th, as mentioned, Matthias will walk you through ad customizers. There are quite a few little details there that are useful to know, that might be, or we've seen, are quite challenging if you only look at the support materials of Google. So that's going to be good. I know it will. No pressure, Matthias, but I know it will. So sign up for that as well, and then you will have received our entire package of RSA themed stuff, our framework process templates. Okay, thank you again. And one more question. I'm not going to leave you hanging. What is the impact of keyword insertion when the keyword is competitor's name? Yeah, that's a tricky scenario because obviously you don't want to just insert the competitor name as a headline because that's misleading. Your competitor will likely land in your inbox soon with a very angry letter and maybe some threats of legal consequences. But this depends on the specific company, how you use competitor names in your headlines. So for example, in some cases, it is done that you say like #1 alternative to, and then you use the competitor's name. So you are clearly communicating that you are not the competitor, but you are an alternative to them. But a lot of companies also want to kind of stray away from this and simply say something like considering an alternative or come check out us, we're better because ABC, things like that. So this is up to your company's approach and policies, I guess. Just blindly using a keyword insertion in a competitor ad group, I would say would not be recommended. It's just not very nice. And if the user does finally realize that they accidentally landed somewhere where they didn't land, they're not going to be too happy. So I'm sure your guys' products and offerings are good enough that you don't have to capture clients by deceiving them. Simply putting your best foot forward and communicating your good sides in the best way possible should do the trick well enough. Okay, if there is no more questions, then again, this is Bai. I will land in your inbox once more with the follow-up from this workshop with the recording and materials, and I will send you information about the next one and the link to register soon as well. Thank you for joining, and see you soon. Have a nice end of the week. Bye-bye.